Well, hello everyone. We have a new video here that I'm actually gonna speak in. I've been uploading stuff from like tournaments and career mode, just with the game in-game commentary, not my commentary. But today's kind of a big day for the EA Sports PGA Tour. They did a major update. They finally released their first course. It's Oak Hill, which is the current or this year's host of the PGA Championship. For starters, you kind of see the menus change. It shows the PGA Tour logo in the corner. This is now a new season, they say, so we moved from the Masters to the PGA Championship season. I want to see what that really entitled. Excuse me. What that really means, like besides like the updated menu and the loading screen, which is not captured, shows the PGA Championship logo now instead of the Masters logo. Um, yeah, but anyway, but really the bulk of this video is really going to be about the new course, this update, finally released Oak Hill, as I mentioned. It's the first new DLC course we've got. It's included with the update, no additional cost to get it, unlike the past where they used to do like DLC, like the old Tiger Wood games, especially in the PS3 360 era. When they did release new courses, they're usually paid. You pay to get them, or had to get like the collector's edition to get a few of them. So luckily, that isn't the case now. Obviously, today's video games they do a lot different with this current in-game currency system. That's where they make their money. But anyway, this is gonna be mostly about the course. I have not played it. It just came out today on May 16th, so Tuesday. The PGA Championship starts this Thursday, so this update came out a couple days, a couple days before the actual championship started. But right now, all the players are up there getting ready for it, doing practice rounds and so forth. There it is. Also, in this video, we're going to talk a little about the course itself and the PGA Championship. And so forth. So that's kind of what the bulk of this video. But anyway, let's get it going. A couple notes: no menu music, and I turned the commentary volume down a lot, so that way I'm curious to see what they add to it. But at the same time, it's more about discussing the course here instead of just like them. I'm gonna do all 18, just myself. Good fairways. Yeah, we won them all tournament. Since it doesn't really matter, since it's not like it's not the actual career mode or anything. I want to try and get into a couple of these bunkers. They're very deep. So.
Now from the fabled East Course at Oak Hill Country Club, this is EA Sports continuing coverage of the world of golf. Fritz Varner joined up in the booth by Frank Nadler. There's nothing like it every tee time to get the adrenaline flowing.
Also, too, the golf course is perfect. Less devils. You don't see any sort of marks on the green.
I'm going to speak real quick. Anyway, alright.
And also, when they've cut the golf course, there's that really green, fresh smell. It's brand new.
A couple of quick notes. So they do acknowledge we're at Oak Hill, but so far nothing too unique in the commentary. But it looks like they did record some stuff when they did make the game before the update with the commentary, which is good. Like that's the one downside with the 2K. A lot of the courses, outside the career mode, don't really have unique commentary. Now, they do have a guy, one of the announcers will talk, but it's just more about, trying to make par, something very basic, nothing very unique. We'll see if they add more commentary over time in this, in the, as we play this round or not. But anyway, let's get started. Here at Oak Hill, it's up in northwest. It's not in Buffalo. I think it's near Rochester, New York, but it's up there, up in upstate New York, basically. Oh yeah,
and that is right where you want to be. His drive splits the middle to get this round underway.
Actually, one second, I'm gonna turn down the. I turned down the commentary volume.
Iona Steven.
Bit.
Yeah, he's in a good spot. 135 yards left.
Always screw this up.
And the pin on the left portion of the green.
All right. Yeah, I'm gonna turn this down to like 15. I cannot talk when they're talking for certain stuff. It looks like there's not going to be much added so far. Anyway, but yeah, so a little about this course. It's definitely an old school course. It's been around since 1901. It's hosted multiple majors, including this championship. This is the fourth time it's been there. I got a bunch of notes here actually. So, oh, look at that. That is a little lucky. It was a little short, but that worked out perfectly. But anyway, first hosted the PGA Championship in 1980, 2003, 13, now 22. So this is the 4th time it's been here. So there's definitely a strong history with majors here too, not just the PGA Championship. It's also hosted the. I screwed up my putting there. See. But it's also hosted the U.S. Open 3 times, 1956, 68, 89. It's also hosted the U.S. Amateur, the U.S. Amateur Championship, so a couple times as well. The Senior Open. So it's definitely got a strong history in the U.S. history of golf specifically. It's also, as you said, mentioned, it's an older course. So some of the characteristics you see in these older courses called the classical design. Narrow fairways you kind of see here. Elevated greens. You see the greens a little elevated from the fairway. Deep bunkers. The course architect is Donald Ross, definitely one of the most famous architects in golf. He was designed a lot of major top courses in the country, such as Pinehurst, Seminole. Quite a few of them have hosted majors, especially the U.S. Open and now the PGA Championship. And it's definitely the more classical design. Now, what's interesting, I know they've done some remodels, so I think this course has changed a little bit since 2013 when Jason Duffner won it, but probably not a lot. It looks like it's just more about, I think they expanded some greens here to add some new pin locations. Obviously, probably some slight changes around the bunkers or elevation, but not too much. Now you kind of see here, just an example, like it doesn't look difficult, but the toughest thing is it is up here, and if you're offline a bit, you're going to be in the bunker. And for fun, that's what we're going to do. We're going to go in one of these bunkers. That looks good. I actually want to see how it is to get out of these bunkers, so it's just going to be for fun. So, yeah, there we go. Yeah, you see, you got these big slopes. So you're just offline of it, you're going to hit that slope, and you're going to just get punished horribly. Now, this is a good example. You see how my head is just barely popping out of this? Now, look at that. That's even better. That's how deep these bunkers are. Like, I've seen a lot of videos. These guys, when they're standing, their head is not even popping up. Like, if you're on the other side, like where those fans are, you can barely see their head, maybe. Like, that's how deep these bunkers are. So we're going to go a full swing here just to see how it is. Yeah. You see how firm they are, too? And great, this is major. These are tournament conditions, they call it. So the majors are always more typical, firmer greens, so they run faster than typical. They're obviously playing a longer length than typical. The fairways the rough is usually a little thicker than typical. So that that's what these conditions are trying to recreate in this game, which I think they've done a pretty good job overall. And also some of these older, I would say these older courses specifically, they always seem to kind of slope a bit, but more subtle. Like here it looks a little crazy, but on TV or when you see it, it doesn't look bad until you're on and you realize this is going at an angle constantly. So you kind of have to like really work with these angles and try to read these breaks. So yeah, I owed it too much there. Almost though. That's okay. That's just for fun. We're not in a career mode. So, but anyway, but you just kind of get a sense here. Like, say, here's another one. Like, let's say you go short, like a regular player like us, or like an amateur, not the pros. The pros are always going to go for the green. But let's say you can't reach, you're going to go there. You're going to be almost like way below the hole. Probably, I'm guessing, anywhere from 20 to 40 feet roughly. Like, see, from here we're above, but look, see, it goes down a valley, and then up. You kind of see that in older courses. Like, I saw that. I played actually a Donald Ross course last year in Boston called George Wright, and they had a couple par threes like that where you kind of your tee box and the green itself was almost the same level, but it went down a little valley. So when you went short, like here, when my dad, he actually was playing with me, he ended up short like right about here, and you watch it roll all the way back down here, almost like down, this little area, right around here, I should say. A little different, not the same exact hole, obviously, but similar, and he had similar bunkers like this, too. Again, that course was created in the 1930s, so you kind of saw a little of that. So, this is about a 30-year gap. It's in that same era they call classical design. But the good news, this one, we don't have much wind. It's a little uphill, so I'm just going to go this looks a little like it's going to far, but this is going to be a high shot, so there should be less spin on it. Yeah, see, that looks good. And look at that, it still rolled too much. Yeah. Well, actually, I'm gonna try a chip. You know, I'm just gonna mess around here. Yeah. Oh no. Ooh, it just stopped. Yeah, see, I'm gonna demolish here. I did up the difficulty. I'm playing now on. I'm not doing any more. I used to play on arcade. I'm playing on pro, so it's a little less forgiving. But I finally won a few times on tour, so. And there's another bogey. Again, I'm not too upset. This is more about showing the course and stuff. Overall, it looks gorgeous. You know, it looks like they're doing a good job recapturing where the actual camera's going to be in the stands and how the fans will be spread out throughout the course, which, you know, I don't know how they kind of figure that out. I'm guessing they got, you know, from Oak Hill and maybe the PGA of America that hosts this tournament, then they got an idea of roughly what their idea is. So I have seen some differences between reality and, like, between this course and reality, like when you play at the Country Club in Boston, which is last year's US Open. On hole 1, they had a big pavilion on the right side of the fairway, which is not in this game. And I know that because I had tickets to that pavilion, so I was in there. So it's probably not 100% perfect, but it does a pretty good job making it feel like it's going to be a packed course, a lot of people. You know, look at that. You know, here, I'm sure, it wouldn't surprise me in reality, that's actually probably one of the major pavilion areas like we see on the left there, where like a lot of the fan villages. You know, sometimes there's one, sometimes there's a couple, just depends on the course and layout, obviously. I'm going left a bit. Well, at least the trees are out of the way. Oh, brutal. Well, this is a 5 at least, so we have a little leeway. Oh no! Alright, after this hole, we'll talk a little more about the PGA Championship. But yeah, I guess a little more about Oak Hill though, real quick. The way it's looking, this course is going to play about... Man, yeah, it doesn't help when I'm screwing up my shots here.
Good job to start out, but neither is by no means home.
Oh, so that's a new update. They're going to have more wisp outs like that if your speed's off a bit. For a while, most of them usually drop, so pretty cool that they're doing that. All right, well, let's give it a little more let's give us some forgiveness, like the TaylorMade commercials, and we'll let us back down to arcade since I'm struggling today. And why can I do that? Because it's fun. Oh yeah, but about Oak Hill, you know, I kind of basically went over the core of the design. Obviously, we're doing the whole round to kind of showcase it. Again, another part 3. You kind of see, you know, you get a sense of the characteristics now. A lot of deep bunkers, especially around the green. The fairways will be a little more different. They got wide greens. We kind of see in these older courses nowadays, these wide greens. But there's a couple reasons for that. Even though you might be on, you know, you're still like putting for like 50, 60 feet. And at the same time, when it comes to these majors, you know, it's not too often they'll put it right in the middle for you. No, they're putting these corners. So when it's like a little wind, it's going to carry over. Or if there's one push in, it's going to keep you short. So it's really about judging the best way to get on, and they're firm, so they're gonna. So a lot of the times, it's gonna be a lot more roll than, let's say. See, I went short. Might be okay though. Yeah, see, that wasn't as bad as I thought it would be because of the extra roll and the firmness of the greens. So, but yeah, it's going to play long. It's going to play about 7,400 yards, which is really long, even for the majors. You see a lot of them around 7,000, 72, but it's going to be a little long. Like, there's a couple, I think there's a couple par 5s are going to be like over 6. Yeah, and they change it. Now it kind of zooms in on the ball. This is part of the update as well. But yeah, as I said, Donald Ross, you kind of get a sense of his layout and stuff. But anyway, now let's get into a little of the PGA Championship. This is a little more about the history of this tournament specifically. It's kind of an interesting major, so I would say, like, it's probably considered the weakest of the 4 majors in terms of you got to start, let's say, rating them. And I think there's a few reasons for that. I think for one, the modern majors, they call it, is the Masters, U.S. Open. Anyway, the Masters, U.S. Open, the Open, the PGA Championship. But that definition didn't really come until the 60s, and believe it or not, the reason for that is, I'll go high. It's because, like, I think Arnold Palmer, when he won a couple, I think he won the Masters and U.S. Open or something in 1960. And he says, well, I'm going to quit a major. I'm going to quit the Grand Slam by winning the PGA, and then also the Open. And for a long time, the PGA wasn't considered a major, and neither was the Masters. It was the U.S. Am and the Amateur Championship. The Amateur Championship is like basically the British Am, if you want to get loosely defining it, but it's basically kind of, those were the oldest. The majors were really those 4 tournaments because they're oldest. Like the Open's the oldest major. They had the U.S. Open, they had the U.S. Am and British Am, and for a long time, the amateur game was not too far behind the professional game. Like, you used to have amateurs win the like the U.S. Open or the Open, going against and beating the pros. You haven't had that anymore nowadays. And around the 60s, where really the Arnold Palmer era, that gap started to grow tremendously, where the pros were definitely outpaced the talent, skill, and more importantly, development, because that was their job. Golf became their job, while like the amateur, when the amateur did used to win and compete, it was like they had another job, while the pro golf, golf was his job. They didn't have the amount of tournaments, didn't have like the training at the time. It was more like, they played these tournaments and they had to do a lot of stuff related to like, showing off like lessons and stuff. Which ironically, we'll get to how that ties in the PGA Championship in a minute. So it's around that time they kind of started redefining the majors, and the PGA Championship kind of got included for a couple of reasons. I think one, it's been around since 1916. The 100th was actually in 2018 in St. Louis, Missouri. I attended that one. And, it was also, this is like their identity is the lone major with just pros. So it's just professional tour players, and also we call it the club pros. That should be okay. So, and what the club pros are, these are the guys you see actually at golf courses. They're the ones that teach the game. They kind of basically, I would say they're the ones truly growing the game of golf. They're there to help introduce the game to people, learn the game, and try to help out people get better at the game. And they get, they get a certain amount of spots. I think it's like 15 to 20. I could be wrong on top of my head, to be honest. But they get them out. But this is their tournament where they get to go through their own tournament qualifying, get to play with the actual best of the traveling pros. And by traveling, I mean like the PGA Tour, DP World Tour. Those are they call them the travel pros, where they're the ones that can actually compete worldwide in tournaments and so forth. While the the pros at the club level, they're just, while they're good, they're not the same level anymore as the tour pros. But anyway, that's kind of how that tournament got looped into the majors. Just like, okay, it's one of the toughest fields of the year. It's all pros, and that's their identity. But the downside, I guess, even though that I say that's their identity, it does seem a little lackluster compared to some of those were written, honestly, to the other 4 majors, or at least in terms of how people rate them. Like, it's definitely not a small tournament. It's still a great tournament. You get great benefits if you win and so forth. But just in terms of like when you got to rate the majors, I think the major reason, this is all subjective. It's not factual. It's like opinionated. But I think it's the weaknesses. One, I mentioned like its history. The U.S. Open, the Open's a lot older, and they were established as majors a lot longer than the PGA Championship and the Masters. But the Masters, the reason that probably elevated to one of the best majors. A couple reasons and a few I'll explain in a minute, but you had that history, and also the PGA Championship was a little wonky. Like, it used to be match play until the 50s. I was looking at, so you kind of had that, not that element. Oh, sorry, that you had that in there. So it's kind of like you had a different format for one stroke play. Obviously, back in the day, the amateurs were considered just as equal, sort of equal with the pros, and they didn't have any amateurs, so that probably degraded the tournament for a long time, especially during like I would say pre-World War II era.
Going to be watching this one intently.
I'm still playing on pro. No wonder I'm getting killed. That's okay. I think we have enough. So, but yeah, so that's kind of, I think, what kind of degraded the PGA Championship for a long time, never considered a major, and why the history is not as strong as some of the others. Now, how did, like, the Masters got elevated despite being the youngest major? Because that wasn't founded till, I think the 1930s, basically. Sadly, I don't know on top of my head. Well, I think there's a couple reasons for that. I think one was Bobby Jones, who was a very pivotal figure in the amateur game of golf, winning majors as an amateur, finding that tournament. But also, it became so unique. It has the smallest field. It's an invitational. It has some of the most unique traditions, such being the only majors at the same course every year. It's not hosted by a governing body of golf. It's just run by a club. Even though Augusta is kind of now thrown as a governing body in regards to the world rankings and a lot of the major decisions that come by the USGA and RNA. So, obviously the traditions like the green jackets, if you win, you get an invite for life. Even though the PGA Championship's got something similar as well. If you win, you get an invite for life, basically. But they also, the Masters has quite a few amateur spots. A lot of unique traditions, like where the amateurs stay on the course, they stay at this house and so forth. So there's almost like a magical aurora. Is that the right word? Let's say there's a magical element with Augusta and the Masters that's really elevated as probably the biggest major in golf, at least in terms of like what the players and fans consider. Now there's some debate with that, because I do think like the European or more foreign fans may put the Open as their top major choice, because that is the oldest, and that's more of a global major in terms of the amount of players that represent around the world than like the other majors, especially the U.S. Open or Augusta. I do think a PGA is a little more open in regards to the worldwide, because I know it's considered an official event on the DP tour, and I think Japan tour, and they always got a good amount of. They always got some spots for those players from those other world tours. But otherwise, Augusta. That's why Augusta and the Masters went way, almost like the top major, just because a lot of the elements to it that really, appealed to a lot of players and like what it meant to them, and I would say fans alike. And it's also kind of like the first major of the year. It's like almost like the birth, to a lot of people, it's like this is the beginning of spring. The Masters is on, so I think there's a lot of elements that just kind of help elevate that. Now, why, kind of back to why the PGA kind of fell off. I wouldn't say fell off, but why it's probably ranked fourth. The Masters really elevated, and at the same time, it's like you can't top the history of the U.S. Open or the Open Championship, especially how they've been majors much longer, their impact in the game, and they're run by the governing bodies of golf, while the PGA America is more about, the teaching of golf and so forth. Very important still, but a little different than the other governing bodies or their impact in the game, in my opinion. So, hold on, I got some notes here. Yeah, and again, this is all loosely. And as I said, even though the identity is being the only all-pro tournament, I just don't think it resonates as well with the fans as much as like the other ones, such as like the history or the amateurs and so forth. And again, just broadly speaking. Oh, and probably another one, as I mentioned, like the pro stuff. At least with the U.S. Open and the Open Championship, they got qualifiers for the amateurs or anyone to get in, if you meet certain requirements. Like to qualify for the, for the U.S. Open, you gotta at least have a low handicap. I think like underneath for 2. And then you kind of go through qualification tournaments. And there's a few. I think it's like 2 stages. You go through U.S. Open qualifiers. If you're good enough, and it's like a small amount to get through that, then you go through the longest day of golf, which is like, I think it's in early June. I know it's usually a couple weeks before the actual U.S. Open, but it's basically got to go through 36 holes of golf on called the longest Monday in golf. And if you do well enough, then you qualify into the Open. And what's pretty cool about that, let's say an amateur that gets to that level, like an everyday person, then there's a good chance on that Monday you're playing against some of the best, some really good pro golfers who didn't qualify already for the Open, either U.S. Open, either because the world ranking wasn't high enough, they're not in the top 50, or they didn't win a tournament. Like, there's multiple reasons. Like, they're good. They might just be not the best, but they're good to actually go and play on the PGA Tour at the top level of golf. A good example last year was Joe Damon got in that way. He went through the qualifiers, qualified Monday, and he had a top 10 finish at the U.S. Open. So just, if you watch, you're out there, you're playing with him, nice guy, and then you see him down like a couple weeks later in Boston, basically finishing the top 10 on NBC. I mean, it's just wild to think about who you might be with out there. So, and that's I think that's why the Opens, U.S. and the Open, because the Open's the same way. You've seen some amateurs or young kids qualify and have like a top 10 finish or like a top 20. They make the cut and they have a few big shots. Like, it's a unique element. While the club pros, and again, the club pros are really good guys. You ever talk to them? But there's a difference between like they work in golf, so over a guy who's just playing for the love of the game, And to say they don't love the game being working in golf, it's just there's a difference between like, between like an amateur and like, I think for like the average fan. Oh, hold on, I screwed this up. There we go. That's what I wanted. In my view, again, this is all broadly subjective. I think just for the average fan, there's something a little more magical seeing an amateur get into the majors, a person who's not working in golf or being paid to, play golf or anything like that, and make a run or do something, So, again, that's my opinion. Just the overall feelings I just see from fans and others. But having all said that, I'm not making this bashing the PGA. I'm just trying to explain. Fortunately, if you got to rank things 1 through 4, someone's gonna be dead. Someone's gonna finish last in that, unfortunately. But that said, I can tell you from the PGA Championship, because I've been to a couple. I keep doing that with this controller. It's just killing me here. I don't know why I keep pushing way left at the end. Well, at least it's kind of straight. Yeah, I see. There'd be a little break in the beginning. Not enough, damn. But that said, I've been to 2 PGA Championships and 3 US Opens, and I've been to the Whistling Straits, and I've been to Bellevue and St. Louis, the 100. I can tell you from being both, and they both won really well, but I say the PGA Championship is a little better for fans in regards to the Village. I thought the Village looks like an overall, but and granted, I think it varies by the course and what room you have. Like, when I went to the U.S. Open at Erin Hills, that was my first U.S. Open. I thought that was okay set up. Like, it was a main village in the entrance, but then felt kind of weak after that. You know, spread out, not a lot. Food choices were not very good, not very local. Like, they didn't really have any local beer. You know, there's really just Miller Lite and Summer Shandy. While, like, the PGA Championship seemed to have, like, I think they had Spotted Cow at Whistling Straits. These are both in Wisconsin. That's why I'm doing the comparison. And had some local food choices I didn't see. And then when they're in St. Louis, they had local St. Louis barbecue. Like, to me, I think that's that's better with the fan experience. You get a mix of that local stuff. Oh, please get over. Nope. So, so over, I'm just saying from broadly speaking, I think the fan experience was a little better this is tough.
Well, he's looking at 120 yards remaining to the flagstick.
I'm gonna go full swing.
Smack bang in the middle.
Okay, we have enough. Oh, actually worked really well. So, this is my opinion. I did think but that said, when I went to the U.S. Open, it was a lot better at Torrey Pines, and Torrey Pines is a weird year in 21 because only about 10,000 people a day were going over probably like 50 or 60. But I thought they still set up the village and everything really well. Then the last year I went to the U.S. Open in Brookline and Boston, and I thought that was really well done, despite the limited space because just the way the course was set up and stuff. I thought that was a lot better, just compared to like Erin Hills and Whistling Straits. I thought the PGA was better, and I thought the PGA was running really well in St. Louis. And despite that being an older classic course, as well, they did a really good job. Yeah, this is one of the long par 5. See, it's almost 600 yards. And you kind of see here, you see they got the little. I like how they got the neat PGA logo on the stands. You'll see that in real life. It kind of looks like one of the specialty boxes there, just the way it looks and set up. Again, I like the details. Like, they don't have to put a lot. Like, I know, like, in 2K they really don't. But it looks really good here. Ooh. I think we can make it. We're going to go for it. Oh, yeah, look at that. Oh, now that's bold. I love doing stuff like that. So fun. But yeah, kind of listen to the comments. It looks like they got some unique commentary for each hole, but nothing super in-depth, I would say. But I think it's decent enough. But yeah, you can see, like, in these older designs also, like, this is a pretty narrow fairway to begin with. But it's like, okay, as you look up, it's like it narrows even further, and then you got these bunkers and stuff. So it's like, what do you do? It's a tough call. I'm going to try and go for it, because why not? Oh, and we're going to go left towards the bunker. Yeah, see? And you see they put those slopes like that, those bumps on purpose, because instead of hoping to roll out, it's going to try and capture you and stay in there as bad as possible to torment you. I could have been better. But again, not as deep as some of the other bunkers, but still pretty deep. I think it's going to break a little more. See, I thought it was. I know I've been talking a lot, various stuff about the film. So yeah, I hope you guys are enjoying the course so far. I like it. It definitely shows its teeth. Oh yeah, so you see a lot of that, especially on the older courses. See how you kind of go down and back up? You see this at Augusta in this game. Obviously, Augusta is basically the course. You have that at Brookline as well. That's a very common trait, I feel like, in these courses. They have them on the newer parkland too, but it definitely seems like a bigger elevation change. Like, you know, here at the top, that says 4 feet here, but let's see, like, okay, see, down to 20 feet, and then now up to, see, like, it goes up a good, almost, I would say, yeah, almost like 25, 30 feet from the valley. And you're thinking, well, what's the big deal for those who aren't too familiar with golf? It matters a lot because you almost need to club up, you know, getting up those hills. And at the same time, I know I'm going for the bunkers, but that's okay. But at the same time, also, like, you know, you're trying to see, you also have to club up, but then you also have wind that impacts. So, like, it really impacts your shot where, even though, let's say, from the valley, let's say you're 150 yards out, it may play more like 160 or 170, depending on the conditions and so forth. And that's like a whole club or sometimes 2 clubs up. And at the same time, you may not have the right club or distance to get up there. Oh, that should sit. There we go.
Such a big drive. Unexpected header out of that bunker shot.
So it really makes you really think of how to approach it a lot of ways. And that's what's fun about some of these older courses, and actually why I like a lot of the classical courses, even though I could struggle at them with the blind shots and elevation changes. There's so much fun with just like the strategy and thinking, because like, you know, this game I'm just going for it. In reality, I would try to lay up in that valley. You know, let's say if my drive could carry that far from the tee, from the tip, which it won't. Then I would be like, okay, now we're here. What's the range? Like if I can get into within, let's say, what I'm really comfortable with, let's say between, you know, 110 to 130, you know, that's between my pitching wedge and let's say 8 iron roughly, then okay, I'm comfortable with that. Obviously I have to adjust going up the hill, but then it's like, okay, if it's breezy, then we got to also figure that out. And, you know, the wind comes in anywhere, but there's a difference between these elevations. You're like, again, you know, this is not too bad. It's only about 6 feet, but you kind of see if you're short, it's going to come much shorter in those bunkers. All right, I'm going to actually go... We're going to get some roll, so we're going to go here. Ooh. Flirting with disaster there. So, but yeah, see, and this is what you see in the tournament. See how the pin locations were on the left. Look how I just hugged this left side. If I was just another couple yards left, it would likely be in the rough or likely roll in that bunker. You know, that's where you see the challenge going to come out this week. Now, but yeah, you see, there's the bunker. Yeah. Now with these, you know, this design, it's very dominant gloss. You see it a lot of his courses. So as I mentioned earlier, I played at George Wright. I also played at Pine Hills, but it's a little different setup. But George Wright, which is built in Boston, so a lot of the similar climate, like upstate New York. Maybe topography, I'm not an expert in that regard because I know the clay, you know, soil stuff differs a lot probably, but you know, definitely that northeast, you know, first half of the 20th century style courses you see a lot of there. Really do kind of look like this. Now this one's actually looks a little wider at first, but not much. Not a lot of trees, but you see, this is my main drive, and usually I think the drive they give you about 10 to 15 yards each side. That's a narrow fairway. Some of the other courses, like you play at like Bandon Dunes, we have at least another like 100 yards of fairway each side, basically. Now that should be fine.
She's here. That is into the fairway. Couldn't ask for anything better. Split the fairway. And now another go at the second shot.
Oh, that's just tough. We have a little wind, but down, so I don't think it's gonna matter much. I'm gonna do straight. I'm not gonna. Ah, not enough. Yeah. I thought the wind would impact it a bit. Almost.
You could be fairly pleased with that, Frank. What do you think? I certainly do. It was so good.
we only have a couple more holes, and after this, I'm probably just going to go over see how the updates impacted the rest of the game, so forth. But overall, I like how they Oak Hill here. From what I've seen in the pictures, I think they captured it very well. The only thing I will say that is just a nitpicky criticism. I was wondering if this update was even coming out on time, to be honest, because it was like late last week, people were asking, they said nothing, and then on Monday, yesterday, they dropped it saying it's coming out. And I don't know, part of me is like, I'm not fully against that. I just kind of wish there was a little more clarity. Maybe like a week before, like, hey, next week is PGA Championship week, and we'll have Oak Hill coming out. Just more like, it felt like they were leaving the fans a little bit in the dark, because I was wondering if they're going to get it out on time. And the reason I feel that way, they delayed this game a year already. Obviously, the championship course that in this game originally for last year, so so I guess I'm glad they got this year's championship courses. The Oak Hill, LA Country Club, for the next couple majors. But it seemed weird, just the way it was a little, just like not much hype until like the day before, the week of, and maybe that makes sense. I don't know, to be honest. I'm not an expert in that regard, but it's just more like, I wish there was a little bit like a heads up, and then like, go full out campaign mode like yesterday, like they kind of did. I'm gonna do straight. I don't think it's gonna go in, but it's gonna break left and come back to the right a bit. Yeah, I'm doing lag putting here. Almost. Now, as we go into the final hole, I guess I will think of broadly who would I think would win this week. Man, that is tough. I'm trying to figure out who's got the better. I feel like from playing, this is the only time I've played this, but I say the golfers with the best driving accuracy, balance between accuracy and power. And the reason I say so, like Bryson should both like this. He has a tendency to, like, he can bomb this course. He can definitely, even though he's lost weight and stuff, and probably muscle mass, he can bomb this course. But will he be accurate? Like, he might be bombing it, but he might be bombing it over here or offline, like I have a couple times. And can he actually recover out of that? And some of the courses, like on a Palmer, when he's won that, he's able to recover out of the rough. But it's a lot more wide open, wider fairways, and the conditions favor that game. But when he said like Augustus plays like we said a par 67, something really stupid, to be honest. Yeah, see, there we go. We had the drive power, but we're offline a bit. When he's talking about like Augustus like a par 67, well, he has not done because it's a course that might not be the longest course, but it really emphasizes accuracy, strategy, and timing. Really figuring out where to land your shots and how to approach stuff. And if you're offline a bit, then you get demolished. I'm gonna go one up. But then I think about, okay, well, I think maybe someone. Obviously, I would say John Rahm would be up there. I'm not gonna pick Rory. I think there's something off of his game. I think Justin Thomas just caught fire last year at the right time to win it. But I would say right now it'd be John Rahm and Scotty Scheffler, the two obvious favorites. Some of the dark horses, I have Tony Finau probably. He can definitely drive the ball very well, and I think his game has really improved the last year and a half. I think Brooks Koepka from Liv will be in contention. He's usually does really well at the majors. He does have a very balanced game, and when he's healthy, he's really tough to beat. Just a little power, and I think we'll get it in. Oh, such a tease. I like how they got the final grandstands there. You always got like a nice big grandstand at the. Yeah, I didn't do well at all, but that's okay. This first time, tough course. I think it's gonna be pretty brutal out there. But as I said, so I think from the driver's perspective, and then I think about approach shots. So obviously Scotty and Rahm. I think Finau, the only question sometimes his approach shots look off or his putting's off, and that would probably hurt him. I think Jason Day, even though he just won last week, He's looked really good this year. He's won the PGA Championship Whistling Straits, which is a long course as well, and it's kind of a little more unique. It's more open in regards to like a link style, but trying to approach and get on. He can be when he's on, he's really good, and he's got some of the best putt in the game. So if he's able to get a lot of green regulations, keep stuff in play, not being deep rough or bad bunkers where you can't do much, then he should be. I think he'll be in the hunt. As I said, Brooks, I think he's good overall. Those are probably my guys on top of my head. There's always like dark horses. I'm wondering if Thigala, he's a newer guy, but he's done really well recently. Had a good Masters. So, and there's always some surprises, obviously, in any major. So, those are my picks. But anyway, before we kind of wrap the video up, we'll go through, rest of the updates here. So, obviously, this is really the major thing, but they changed the menu. Let's see if they changed the store. If the store's even working. Huh. This is interesting. So, it looks like they're adding new swings. That's interesting. These are just specs. Yeah. Oh, okay. They've changed this. The feature's a lot bigger now. So we got all these Air Jordans in. I haven't seen before. That's good. Oh, that's awesome. This is a lot better. They used to only show like one random Air Jordan, and it's really frustrating. So it looks like they added all of this. This is under feature. Oh, Curry. So that must be Stephon Curry. Interesting. These are all under feature. So doing more. Okay. Mizuno bag. Still under feature. Tailor made. So they updated this part. Skip specs. This is what I care about. Okay. Major improvement here. Look at that. We got 12 pages now. It looks like they're showing all the packages that they were not showing. They only showed like a random one. It was really, really stupid. The downside I'm seeing so they're all under bundles. Oh, here we go. Yeah, like I got this shirt when it randomly popped up. It didn't show it all the time. It was really stupid. So good and bad. They're showing a lot more finally. Most of it in bundles for some reason. But at least it's like they had all these brands they showed off, and you can never see them. It was really dumb. I'm looking at this. Yeah, so at least you got some decent shirts here. That fits the Adidas brand. I don't know why there's no Nike shirts. Hold on. Yeah. So that's bizarre. So they have all the Air Jordan and Nike shoes, but none of the shirts, and they make the apparel. Whoops. Equipment. Okay, much better. Instead of just 4, they're showing a lot more. Again, not everything. Some of it is unlockable through the challenges. What was that? Oh, it just showed up later. Yeah, so it looks like they're showing a lot of the same items, but at least now they're all available instead of randomly showing up, which is just, again, really, really stupid. Like, it made no sense. Specs. But yeah, so at least heading in the right direction. Really curious about this. Don't know much about that, to be honest. Really glad they're showing a lot more. Probably buy a couple more shoes. Change them up a bit. So I like the Air Jordan ones. I don't think they changed much else. I'm sure golfer, yeah, that's the same. Oh, I didn't. I know what that is. Yeah. Quest. Yeah, this is part of the career mode. Live. Yeah, daily quests. I'll do that later. Mastery. Yeah, PGA Tour, Road to PGA, since we're here in amateur. So yeah, I know they didn't do much of online. Yeah, see nothing here. Oh, you know what? They took out social. Yeah, it used to be social. It was part online, but it was like the casual version of it. They took that out. The problem is social never worked. It worked for like a week, and by work it was like random when it wanted to put me in a match. So I guess they have private match, but yeah, they took that out. Tournaments, I think these are the same. Yeah, nothing different. Seasonal tournaments, yeah. I assume that's Oak Hill, yeah. Yeah, so that'd be part of the season. I think that's about it. Yeah, I mean, career mode's not going to change. Oh, there's actually one change. It won't show here. But, like, for the PGA, when you finish the season and go to the next season in your career mode, it only showed, it always kept playing the same courses for the majors. And what was frustrating, I'm really frustrated when I read about that, it's not because Sun Hill's not a bad club. It's like they have Whistling Straits in this game, which has hosted the PGA Championship 3 times. So it's been a very big staple for the PGA of America. And it's like they did really nothing with it. Like, why doesn't that alternate? You know, at least have a couple courses alternate because they've hosted. Or with the U.S. Open, you know, they always had at Brookline, but then they have Pebble Beach in here, which hosts the U.S. Open quite a bit. They had Chambers Bay, which hosted the U.S. Open about 10 years ago. And yet didn't rotate those out. So it just seemed kind of stupid. It seemed like how they didn't. As I've read these again, I didn't experience this yet. That seemed to be the issue. This didn't rotate. I know with this one, they only got really one course in here for this right now. So that's, you know, I complain with the Open. But yeah, I just didn't get it. I honestly didn't get why they at least couldn't rotate a couple of these courses for the PGA. You know, and the U.S. Open when they had courses in this game that hosted these tournaments, and actually are currently, I would say, in the rotation of like hosting future tournaments in the near future. So, but yeah, so that's kind of the really only difference that I've seen besides the course is just updating the store. But I didn't see anything like. There's no. We'll go through the feature here. Yeah, see, I don't see anything that's like they had like a bunch of like, you know, like Augusta themed T-shirts and stuff, which I don't see in the store anymore. It looks like they took those off for now, which I kind of get, but nothing like, let's say, a PGA, you know, championship shirt or anything like that. Looks like that's not the case. Curious of, you know, what that means long run with the U.S. Open and so forth. So yeah, that's really the only change I've seen. At least a slightly better store. Obviously, the Masters apparel is not on here right now. You know, that was obviously for the previous season. That's probably what they're going to do for a bit. I'm not a big fan of that, honestly. So, but overall though, the course looks great. Played tough, like I think it will in real life. I'm glad they got it out. The current rig, and I like the change to the menu. They kind of reflect now the new season, which I'm guessing when the U.S. Open starts later on, then that will be, you know, their own season as well. But anyway, I hope you guys enjoy. Have a good one.